This is just the beginning. To uncover more of humanity's journey in the stars, subscribe and join us for the next thrilling chapter. Before a cliffhanger, right at a pivotal moment in the story, you can tease the next episode with a hint for viewers to subscribe. In the far reaches of the galaxy, humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as allies. Earth had been welcomed into the Intergalactic Council, and the galaxy began to see humans as more than a curiosity. To many, they were respected as peacekeepers with a powerful history, bound by codes of resilience and compassion, but beneath that respect lay a quiet awareness of their potential strength, a strength rarely displayed in its full force. Humanity was known for patience, but an unspoken understanding spread through the Council. Push them too far, and Earth would not hold back. Among the many emissaries and dignitaries traveling between worlds was a human child, a young symbol of Earth's commitment to unity. This child represented the very soul of humanity's diplomacy, a gentle ambassador who could win over even the coldest of alien hearts. With an innocent charm and boundless curiosity, the child became a beloved figure, a bridge between worlds. They were greeted with awe and affection wherever they went, from the towering crystalline cities of the Phelan to the bioluminescent shores of Aquilia. The galaxy had watched this child grow, and with them grew a sense of kinship with humanity that the Council had never known before. But not everyone felt admiration for humanity's rise. In darkened corners of the galaxy, resentment simmered. Among the Council was a faction of alien dignitaries who saw humanity as an interloper, a species that had climbed too quickly, drawing influence from their historic resilience. This faction viewed humans as a threat to the balance of power, especially when they saw the galaxy's admiration veering dangerously close to reverence. It was this faction that decided to strike where humanity was most vulnerable, not on the battlefield, but in its heart. The plan was precise, executed with cold efficiency. The child, accompanied by an entourage on a diplomatic visit, was ambushed on a neutral planet. The attackers knew their target well. They didn't seek to negotiate or to leave any traces. They wanted the attack to resonate as a warning. And it did. When news broke that the child was dead, a wave of shock and horror spread through the galaxy. Whispers filled council halls and trading ports alike. Eyes turned toward Earth, waiting, almost fearing, the reaction that would follow. On Earth, the news was received with silence, not the shocked kind but a silence thick with controlled fury. Humanity grieved, but there was a restraint, an ominous calm that settled over cities and colonies alike. There were no riots, no cries for revenge from the people. Instead, there was something colder and far more unsettling, a resolve. Across Earth and its colonies, ceremonies of mourning took place. Candles flickered in windows, flags flew at half-mast, and the silence became a shared, collective grief. Humanity held its breath, honoring the child they'd lost, honoring the light that had been taken from them too soon. This grief was a force that drew humanity closer. From the highest leaders to the quietest citizens, a bond formed, a unity in the face of an unimaginable loss. But with that unity came an unspoken decision: this would not go unanswered. Those responsible would learn a lesson that the galaxy would never forget. While other species might have reacted with unrestrained vengeance, Earth's leaders convened in silence, crafting a response far more calculated, far more final. In the days that followed, Earth's representatives approached the Intergalactic Council. Humanity's leaders made their demands with icy clarity. Justice must be served. Those responsible for this attack must be held accountable. The Council was uneasy. To some, these demands seemed reasonable. To others, they were unsettling. Rumors began to spread that humanity had gone mad with grief, that their peacekeeper image was merely a mask hiding a dark, vengeful core. But the humans did not rant or rage. Their demands were clear, specific, and delivered with a calm that was far more intimidating than any threat. Among the Council, however, a different attitude prevailed. Some scoffed, dismissing humanity's demands as nothing more than the emotional pleas of a grieving species. They expected humans to cool down, to move on as others had in similar situations. They underestimated humanity's resolve, mistaking their silence for weakness. The Council did little, letting bureaucracy and politics stretch out time, hoping perhaps that the humans would let go, would forgive, would forget. But humanity was not built to forget. Back on Earth, the quiet was shifting. What had started as mourning turned into a cold, determined rage. Humanity's vast fleets, usually stationed defensively, began to stir. Across Earth and its colonies, ships prepared for departure. The crews understood what was happening. There were no speeches, no grand proclamations. Orders were given in quiet tones, and soldiers suited up with a shared understanding of the mission ahead. This wasn't just an act of retaliation, it was a message to the entire galaxy. A message that would be written in stars and delivered with unyielding precision. Word spread quickly among the stars, as it always does. Humanity was mobilizing, and those who had mocked Earth's quiet restraint began to feel a pang of fear. Some species who thought themselves untouchable were shaken. They'd watched humanity with a kind of detached admiration, never quite grasping what it meant to push a species that had survived millennia of conflict, hardship, and evolution. Now, as Earth's armada moved silently but purposefully toward the borders of their adversaries, the galaxy began to understand what it meant to awaken a force that held back out of choice, not necessity. But Earth was not in a hurry. They knew exactly who was responsible. They knew which species had orchestrated the attack, and they knew precisely where to find them. The armada moved as a single entity, a wall of power stretching across the stars. There was no need for showy threats. The sight alone was enough to send shivers down the spines of entire star systems. Alien species who had previously dismissed humanity began to question everything they thought they knew about these beings from Earth. In the vastness of space, the human fleet was an awe-inspiring sight, a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and unity. Their ships were not merely vessels of war but symbols of their unbreakable spirit. As the armada continued its approach, there was a palpable shift. It was as if the stars themselves held their breath, watching, waiting, wondering if there would be anything left of those who had dared to provoke Earth's wrath. The funeral procession was like nothing the galaxy had ever witnessed. Across Earth and its colonies, people gathered in silent mourning, each individual carrying a piece of the collective grief. There were no speeches, no declarations of vengeance, just the shared understanding that they had lost one of their own to an act of calculated brutality. And as the silence grew deeper, so did humanity's resolve. This was not a pain that would fade with time, not a wound that could be ignored. It was a reminder, etched into the hearts of every human, of the cost of letting their guard down. And with that realization came the kindling of something colder, something unbreakable. While humanity grieved, word spread across the galaxy. From planet to planet, species watched, waited, and speculated. Some alien factions offered condolences, perhaps sincere, perhaps out of caution. Others, the ones with hands stained in the conspiracy that led to this tragedy, sneered quietly, believing that humanity's tears were signs of weakness. They whispered among themselves that humans, for all their strength, would back down eventually. Their mistake, however, was in thinking that humanity's restraint was born of fear, rather than choice. They saw the quiet and mistook it for indecision, never once considering what might follow if humanity's patience snapped. Earth's leaders gathered behind closed doors, discussing their next moves with a focus and intensity that betrayed none of the pain they felt. They knew that lashing out would satisfy their emotions but might compromise their goals. So, instead, they prepared their case carefully, crafting a demand for justice that they would bring before the Intergalactic Council. Humanity's representatives held their meetings with an unsettling calm. They were direct and concise, their words as sharp as blades. They presented evidence, issued demands for accountability, and made it clear that failure to act would have consequences. Yet the council was divided. Many sympathized with humanity, understanding the gravity of their loss and supporting the idea of retribution against the perpetrators. But others, particularly those who feared humanity's growing influence, argued for caution. They believed that giving in to humanity's demands would only embolden them. These council members assumed that, given enough time, humans would relinquish their anger, accept the tragedy as an unfortunate casualty of their growing prominence, and move on. They argued that humanity, like so many other species before them, would eventually learn to live with loss. But Earth's patience had limits, and the Council's inaction only hardened humanity's resolve. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, Earth's representatives withdrew further from negotiations, their voices falling silent. The Council members who had pushed for a softer response started to feel a creeping dread. They'd witnessed human strength before, but always in the context of alliances, defense, and peacekeeping. Now, faced with the prospect of humanity acting alone, they began to wonder what that might truly mean. For the first time, they glimpsed the depth of humanity's resolve and began to sense the enormity of their mistake. The final straw came quietly, with Earth's representatives leaving the Council chambers without fanfare. They offered no warnings, no final ultimatums, only a quiet, resolved departure. The message was clear to those who understood: Earth was finished with negotiations. The galaxy waited, holding its collective breath, as humanity began to mobilize. Fleets, dormant for years in peaceful service, were readied with a precision and efficiency that left no room for doubt. Humanity was not posturing, they were preparing. They moved with a single, unyielding purpose, each ship outfitted for the specific mission at hand, each soldier aware of the importance of their role. The aliens who had once mocked humanity's pain now felt the cold touch of fear. They had not expected this. They'd assumed humanity's anger would fade, assumed their talk of retribution was empty, a mere expression of grief. But as Earth's fleets assembled, the magnitude of their miscalculation became all too clear. This wasn't a fleeting rage. It was a focused, deliberate response. A response that would remind the galaxy why humans were not to be taken lightly. Species across the galaxy began to realize that they were on the brink of witnessing something unprecedented. As the armada moved, humanity maintained its silence. This was not a declaration of war, not in the traditional sense. Earth's forces were simply en route to deliver justice, with or without the Council's blessing. They had no need for speeches or threats, their presence alone conveyed everything. The galaxy, usually a noisy, bustling network of communications, fell eerily quiet as word spread of the human fleet's approach. Alien diplomats scrambled to send pleas, attempting to make amends, but humanity had already moved beyond words. The time for diplomacy had ended. The time for consequences had arrived. And yet, Earth's leaders remained careful, restrained even. Their goal was not indiscriminate destruction. They had identified those responsible for the attack, understood the faction within the Council that had orchestrated the plot. Their actions would be precise, a calculated response designed to eliminate the threat while leaving no doubt in anyone's mind as to the consequences of harming their own. They would avenge the child's death, but they would do so on their terms, with a discipline that was both terrifying and admirable. Among the Council, a new understanding began to take hold. Those who had once doubted humanity's resolve now watched the unfolding events with a mix of awe and dread. They saw the discipline of Earth's forces, the unity that held them together, and began to question their own assumptions. They had underestimated humanity, mistaking kindness for weakness and empathy for naivete. But they were learning now, learning that humanity's restraint was not born of fear, but of choice. And they understood, perhaps for the first time, that they had pushed too far. As the fleet advanced, the leaders of Earth sent out one final message, not to the Council, but to those directly responsible for the attack. It was a simple message stating that justice was coming and that they would not stop until it was delivered. There was no anger in the words, no threats, only a cold, unshakable certainty. For the perpetrators, it was a message that left no room for doubt. They had unleashed something they could not contain, and now they would pay the price. Across the galaxy, species watched, each realizing that humanity's patience was both a gift and a shield, one that could be withdrawn without warning. The fleets of Earth continued onward, a silent testament to the power of a species that had been pushed too far. And as they drew closer to their targets, the galaxy held its breath, fully aware that they were about to witness a display of justice unlike anything they had ever seen. The human fleet moved as a single, relentless force, an armada vast and meticulously organized. Every ship had a purpose, every soldier a mission, each piece crafted with precision for one inevitable goal: justice. There was no show of grandeur, no needless display of power, just an overwhelming, unstoppable presence that communicated exactly what humanity intended. The fleet wasn't just a military display, it was a promise, one made in the memory of the child, whose life had been cut short in a cowardly attack. This wasn't vengeance, but an act of clarity, a clear and deliberate retribution against those who had thought Earth's resolve could be shaken. As the armada approached the outer defenses of the alien coalition responsible, sensors detected a hastily assembled barricade of ships attempting to intercept. Alien commanders, many of whom had dismissed the idea of human retaliation as mere posturing, now scrambled to defend their territories, their desperation palpable. They had underestimated the scale of humanity's response, thinking that Earth would be deterred by a show of numbers and firepower. They believed humanity could be stopped with a display of strength alone, but they couldn't have been more mistaken. Humanity's forces pressed forward with surgical precision. Each ship in the fleet operated as part of a larger, coordinated strategy, striking at key points in the alien formation and unraveling their defenses with a calm efficiency that was unnerving. The alien forces, who had expected a chaotic, emotionally driven assault, found themselves facing a far more disciplined adversary than they had anticipated. Humanity was not here to make a statement. They were here to carry out a mission, and they did so with a calculated precision that left no room for misinterpretation. This was a consequence, as systematic as it was devastating. The first engagement was swift. Humanity's ships, equipped with cutting-edge weaponry, dismantled the initial line of alien defenses, picking off their ships with unnerving accuracy. Aliens who had scoffed at humanity's anger now found themselves trapped, each vessel falling before they could fully process the intensity of the human response. Communications between the alien ships grew frantic, their formations breaking as confusion spread. Some tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. The human fleet was unyielding, closing in with a quiet but unstoppable determination. The few who managed to escape found themselves crippled, their ship's systems obliterated, and their morale shattered. To the aliens' horror, it became apparent that humanity had anticipated every move. Each attempt to regroup was met with a human response that seemed almost preemptive, cutting off potential escape routes, disabling key ships, and leaving the aliens with no clear options. This was not the erratic anger of a grieving species. It was the cold, calculated execution of a carefully constructed plan. Humanity's fleet maneuvered as a single entity, demonstrating a level of strategic sophistication that left the alien commanders scrambling for answers. They had underestimated Earth in every way, and now they were facing the full extent of that miscalculation. As the first line of defense crumbled, panic spread through the ranks of the alien coalition. Communication channels buzzed with desperate pleas for backup, cries for mercy, and fragmented commands from leaders who realized, far too late, the gravity of their error. Among the coalition's ranks, fear began to take hold. They were facing an enemy that did not taunt, did not waver, and did not give them the satisfaction of a traditional battle. Humanity's forces moved with a singular purpose, each ship coordinated in its role, executing maneuvers that left the alien forces in disarray. It was as if humanity was not only fighting for justice but also showing the galaxy a glimpse of their true capacity. Humanity's restraint had been misinterpreted as weakness, a misconception that was now painfully clear to every alien soldier facing them. As the human ships pressed deeper into coalition territory, they left no survivors in their wake, only shattered remnants of what had once been considered formidable defenses. The coalition's proudest ships were reduced to debris, their names and reputations obliterated by a species that had been pushed too far. The message was becoming clear, even to those who had initially dismissed Earth's resolve. There was no turning back now. Humanity had come to make things right, and nothing would stand in their way. The surviving coalition commanders, those who still had the capacity to think rationally, attempted to regroup and launch countermeasures, but each tactic was met with a human response so swift it was as if they anticipated every move. Humanity's strategies were adaptive, shifting seamlessly in response to alien maneuvers. The coalition, fragmented and demoralized, found themselves facing not only a superior force but a force that seemed to understand them better than they understood themselves. Earth's fleet, guided by a collective unity that left no room for individual egos or personal glory, moved as one, each ship a part of a larger purpose. The coalition's tactics, based on the assumption that humanity would be uncoordinated and rash, now seemed pitifully inadequate. As humanity's ships closed in on the coalition's inner defenses, a final wave of panic swept through the alien ranks. They had never imagined humanity capable of such precision, such unwavering focus. The coalition had taken pride in their military prowess, in their belief that they could control the galaxy through sheer numbers and intimidation. But faced with humanity's disciplined resolve, those beliefs crumbled. This was not the humanity they had mocked in council meetings, not the species they had deemed manageable. This was a force that had spent centuries honing itself, a force that had survived against all odds, now unleashed. Earth's leaders watched from afar, ensuring that every step of their plan was executed as intended. They had not come for conquest, nor to spread fear for fear's sake. They had come to make a statement of consequence, of unwavering justice for the innocent life that had been stolen. The galaxy would understand, from this moment onward, that humanity's patience was a gift, not a given. The coalition forces, decimated and broken, saw that gift withdrawn, replaced by a force that showed no mercy and no hesitation. The message was clear to all who witnessed it: Earth was a friend to those who sought peace, but a nightmare to those who dared cross them. In the aftermath of the initial assault, humanity's ships held their positions, surrounding the remnants of the coalition fleet. Those who surrendered were spared, but their ships were stripped of all weaponry, left to drift as a testament to the consequences of betrayal. Humanity's leaders, their silence finally broken, sent a transmission to the galaxy, a simple declaration that justice had been served. They offered no threats, no ultimatums, only the reminder that Earth had limits, and those limits had been tested. The message echoed across star systems, reaching the ears of every council member, every species who had ever doubted humanity's resolve. The coalition's leaders, those who had orchestrated the attack, were handed over to the Galactic Council, their trial a spectacle of accountability. Humanity's representatives stood in silent attendance, watching as the council members who had once mocked them now grappled with the weight of what had transpired. The coalition leaders, stripped of their power and influence, faced the consequences of their actions. Their arrogance lay bare for all to see. And the galaxy learned, in that moment, a lesson it would never forget. As the coalition's fleet lay in ruins and the surviving leaders faced the aftermath of their decisions, a profound silence settled across the galaxy. Species in every star system watched in stunned reverence as humanity's forces halted their advance, the entire armada poised yet restrained, a controlled power that had dismantled an entire coalition in mere days. In that stillness, the message of Earth's response echoed far beyond the battleground, reaching even the most isolated corners of the galaxy. Humanity had shown the galaxy its strength, but they had also shown something far more unsettling: their restraint, a restraint that the galaxy now realized it had long taken for granted. This act of retribution was not a declaration of war, nor a plea for dominance. It was a demonstration, a measured response to an unprovoked attack, and it was delivered with unrelenting precision. Humanity's leaders understood the weight of their actions, but they also understood the necessity. The child's death had forced their hand, compelled them to reveal a side of humanity that most had only ever speculated about. Now, the galaxy had seen that side, and it would not be forgotten. The coalition, once so smug and self-assured, now lay in disarray, reduced to fragments of its former self, its leaders facing the consequences of their arrogance. Those who had orchestrated the attack on Earth had paid the price, and in doing so, they had taught the galaxy a lesson that would endure for generations. Among the survivors, a somber realization took hold. They had always believed Earth's reputation for peacekeeping was a sign of weakness, an indication that humans were soft, unwilling to do what was necessary. Now, that belief was shattered. The galaxy had seen firsthand that Earth's commitment to peace was not born of an inability to fight but of a deliberate choice to hold back. And when pushed beyond their limits, humans did not simply retaliate. They dismantled their enemies with a cold, calculated precision that left no room for misinterpretation. In their pursuit of justice, humanity had been merciless, yet every action had been intentional, every strike serving a purpose. Those who had survived knew that they had witnessed something that would alter the balance of power in the galaxy forever. As the human fleet held its position, a final communication was sent from Earth's leaders to the Galactic Council. It was a statement, brief but powerful, reiterating that humanity's patience had its boundaries and that this event should serve as a reminder to any who might consider crossing them again. Earth's message was clear. They would not seek retribution unnecessarily, nor would they impose their will on others, but neither would they tolerate senseless acts of aggression against their people. They had acted not out of a desire for conquest but out of necessity, to ensure that those who had dared to take innocent life would be held accountable. And with that message, Earth's forces began their withdrawal, leaving behind the remnants of a coalition that had once thought itself untouchable. The Council, now fully aware of humanity's capacity for measured retribution, gathered to assess the implications of what had transpired. Many members were shaken, their previous assumptions about Earth thoroughly dismantled. They realized that they had misunderstood humanity all along, mistaking kindness for vulnerability and restraint for a lack of resolve. As they reflected on Earth's message, the Council recognized that they could no longer afford to view humanity as just another member species, nor could they continue to ignore the depth of Earth's commitment to its own. Humanity had proven itself to be a formidable ally but also a dangerous adversary, one that could wield its power with unparalleled discipline and precision when provoked. Back on Earth, the Armada returned to a quiet but somber reception. There were no grand celebrations, no proclamations of victory, only the silent acknowledgement of the mission accomplished. Humanity had mourned, had sought justice, and had done what was necessary to ensure it. But the child's death would remain a scar, a reminder of the loss that had compelled them to act. And while justice had been served, humanity understood that it had come at a cost. They had revealed a part of themselves that could never be taken back, a part of their nature that the galaxy would now regard with both respect and fear. In the days that followed, the galaxy shifted. The species who had once looked upon humanity with indifference or condescension now regarded them with a newfound respect. They understood that Earth's membership in the Council was not a courtesy but an essential balance, a reminder that peace was a choice and that even the most peaceful of species held boundaries that, when crossed, would yield devastating consequences. The Council began to adjust its policies, its members carefully considering the potential fallout of decisions that might one day provoke another such response from Earth. Humanity's silence, once seen as compliance, was now recognized as the mark of a species that chose diplomacy not because it had no other options, but because it understood the weight of its own strength. For humanity, the events had left a mark as well. They knew that they had revealed a part of their character that many had kept hidden, a part defined by an unwavering commitment to their own. The galaxy had witnessed their resolve, and in doing so, had come to understand the true nature of humanity's restraint. And while Earth would continue its role as a peacekeeper, its members knew that the galaxy would now think twice before testing their limits. In the end, humanity had achieved more than justice. They had reshaped the galaxy's perception of them, securing their place not only as members of the Council but as a power to be respected, an ally to be valued, and a boundary not to be crossed. And while Earth's leaders understood the gravity of this change, they also recognized its necessity. The galaxy had been reminded of a truth as old as humanity itself, that kindness, when combined with strength, was not a weakness, but an unparalleled force. Earth's patience was not an invitation to be exploited, but a gift that could be withdrawn without warning.